be sticking together so that they can protect this Natan.
Honestly, when it comes down to the pre-Lord fight, we can clearly see that Yums as well as Krans really went out of the way to open things up, but when they really try to get something connected down or trying to set up something, the rest of Selangor Red Giants just kind of too far back.
Yeah, honestly, I think that ready. Oh, hold on.
Oh, wait, what was that? Yums! The flicker, not the way to start things off! As such, it's gonna burn the immortality. At least when it comes down to Shumpo, he'll still be able to get away. The rest of Red Esports, they would really want to keep up chase. But we do have the diversion from Sonic Cap. It connects down on the Yums and Graham. Storming from the side, hoping that the Frigid Glacier will be able to turn the tides around. As such, it allows the guys to at least pick one off of the Owls. As such, this might be what they want to do. And they will want to run it down in the middle lane, taking him down.
Alright, that's what SRG is looking for. Although it looked bad to start with, Red Esports started getting a little overconfident there. The diversion to try and cut them off. Beautiful disengages, beautiful movement from SRG to position themselves to punish the overextension. And now they finally hold a gold lead.
I don't know, it feels like SRG to a certain degree, they're getting pushed into a corner and Red Esports is just preying on them, right? You see these failed engages. I don't think that it's intentional from SRG's side. They are admittedly big blunders coming out on Yum's part, and Red Esports, yes, they are pressing the advantage, but I think they need to start thinking about what is profit and what is considered loss. Finding 2 picks off of SRG is great. 3 should be the bare minimum, but afterwards, just let it be unless you have an endgame scenario.
But it's clear that SRG is still going a little bit on their old habits. They were very good at running down the opponent and forcing mistakes out that would allow them to turn a small blunder into a huge downfall for their enemy. And while it has worked here and there, a small mistake means that it could all be turned around on them instead. The adaptation is going to be very important in the next few minutes, and now that the gold is pretty much even, and positioning and key targeting is going to be crucial.
Innocent also has to make sure that he finds that isolated 1v1 against Owl specifically, right? He can't deal with true damage from Sensui, but he has a Winds of Nature to guarantee a victory in that fight. So if he can burst them down, that would be ideal, but how do you set it up?
It's hard to say. Yums, unfortunately, I don't know what's going on with him. He's been making mistakes left and right on a hero that should be one of his comforts. And Grace is punishing him every single time. Maybe allowing Cram to start things off might work out a little better.
The Lord coming down to half HP. Yums wants to look for something, but he did manage to connect down onto Grace. But it does seem like the immortality is just going to be popped. And Sakai's take the Lord down. Sakai's continues onwards, and that is going to be a good amount of members from the side of Red Esports taken down. Sensui's next one onto the guillotine. Might be next. Innocent catches up, but he pops his own immortality. Owl, look at the fraction of HP. Immortality immediately bought. So even if Sakai didn't manage to catch up with the Cyclone's Eye, doesn't seem like they will be able to follow it up.
No!
Bounced up in the pixel bush. Oh, nice! He managed to find the arrow and lands it right down on the Owl. That's gonna be great as Selangor Red Giant marches through mid.
They found the opening after 18 minutes. SRG will turn around the early game lead and claim victory in game number 1.
They got so lucky at the very end there. So very, very lucky. Oh my goodness, it's tough to say that SRG won that convincingly, but Red Esports, they really know how to push them back into a corner. It's just the end game call that Red Esports needs to figure out, that final nail in the coffin.
Oh, that is an exhilarating match, but also a nail-biting one because it could have gone either way.
It truly could, it truly could. Let's bring in Jace back into this. Jace, talk to me. What happened? What are your thoughts on this game?
It's an emotional roller coaster. You know, it's for a period of time you think that Red was able to basically win it all and basically get a very good momentum to kind of start pushing the Selangor Red Giants all the way back. But now you're shifting the beast back to the lair. They've got nowhere to go, and that's where Selangor Red Giants strikes back. And you gotta have to admit that last sequence, that orange buff going for the Irithel was super unlucky for him.
Yeah, it was. It was very unlucky for him, but he was so close to escaping, so very close because, guys, he wasn't 100% sure. It was a 50-50 on which direction he checked. Luckily, Suya has the biggest toolbox in the game.
We saw that. It was a good response. The Red Giants finally feel a little bit more composed in that final fight. And I think Red Esports didn't do themselves any favors by splitting themselves up with the diversion. They thought they could pick off Innocent in the backline, but then Innocent just repositions, and he's able to do the damage that his team needs.
Honestly, I kind of like the diversion, but it just
Yeah.
didn't seem to. It seems to be answered by SRG pretty magnificently. It's not necessarily like Red Esports, oh, you should have done that. At least for me, it's more of Selangor Red Giants. That final call, boom, it made it.
I don't know. I don't like that, though. I don't like it all boiling down to this one final call when the majority of the game was already
Red.
such a struggle. But let's give it up to Innocent this time. Literally being the insurance policy. That's why he earns the big bucks.
Yeah, definitely, right? If you notice how Red is just constantly sending members to kind of disrupt Innocent, right? They realize that if they're able to separate this particular MVP of this match away from the team fights, it is Red's game to win, right? But after a while, you can start to see the desperation of SRG, the desperation of Red. They both become desperate, and that's where they start to make a lot of mistakes.
I remember that at this one point in time, we saw what Innocent had like 2,000 gold deficit as compared to Owl.
Yep.
That was what 5 minutes into the game, was it?
Yeah, 5 minutes into the game.
So what? 5 minutes in, and then 10 minutes later, we are looking at like what 1,000 or basically,
1,000.
The lead has just been getting smaller and smaller. How is that happening?
I feel like I feel like Innocent got a shutdown somewhere, and there was just like a little bit of like, you know, picking up on the side gold lanes. The guy's just like, I'm gonna be on this side of the map anyways. You might as well take my smaller creeps.
If you ask me, Innocent is a micro and macro god. He is always there when you need him to be. Even though he was behind initially, thanks to the Irritel counter pick in lane, you could tell that he still knew where he needed to be on the map to farm while drawing less attention to himself. He joined to get assists wherever he could and slowly snowball back into relevance, forcing Red Esports to maybe overcommit to try and reach him.
Is it real? Is it more on the fact that Red gave him the space, or did Innocent find that space?
I feels like it's more like Innocent found the space, right? How Selangor Red Giants has been really trying to protect Innocent as much as possible. You saw the amount of diversions that Red was throwing literally at Selangor Red Giants, and you also saw how, to a certain extent, Yumes and even to a certain extent, Cram is basically taking a lot of this attention. Slowly and bit by bit, when Innocent unlocked the Holy Crystal, all hell broke loose. Picks up a triple kill, start picking out items left, right, center, and it just start carrying the whole game.
I feel like at this point, Red, I would give it to them. They are a tempo-based team. I think everything they did was correct, right? The fact that Sensui was already looking to say, hey, War Axe, I'm going to get the Queen's Wings immediately after Winter Crown, just to make sure. I know that SRG is going to hit a power spike, but I need to survive the initial push.
Yeah, I really like the rotations and coordination coming out from Red Esports, but they did start losing their way a little bit later on. It's understandable because some of their heroes will start falling off, Alpha being the most obvious one. But Innocent found the space he needed. He got the farm he needed. Red Esports wanted to make something happen.
Yeah.
And I think that desperation did cost them a little bit.
I think there's a lot of desperation on both sides, right? Selangor Red Giants, in the earlier part of the game, they're trying to make plays, make sure that Skies was able to just become a massive snowball in terms of the jungle. But when Red starts to shut them down, you can see how Yumes also start to feel that pressure just a little bit. But when you shift it to the later part of the game, when Red is starting to realize, hey, Innocent's doing a lot of damage, they are starting to get a lot more desperate to really put an end in the game. They tried, you see what happened in the mid game alongside us at the mid lane of Selangor Red Giants side of the base.
It feels like Red Esports is tax collectors, right? Oh,
Tax
it looks like,
collectors.
hey, you guys are not impoverished anymore. Time to put a bigger tax on you every single time. That's why we see that at least I think one of the better players from the side of Red Esports, Kim, on this Loyi, extremely dangerous. He knows how to kind of leapfrog the team into position.
Yeah.
But I do think that at the very least, SRG's fundamentals in the team fights, it's slowly getting there. I mean, it was a little weak in the early game, but once they have the items to do so, we saw in that final call what it should look like.
SRG is a team that makes things happen when you push them into a corner. And they were definitely pushed into a corner here. And we talked about this during the game as well, right? Although their lineup is better at pickoff, their goal the later the game goes is just to throw bodies to make sure Innocent does damage. And when you diversion into the backline and pincer them like that, they are just kind of grouping up too protective in a way.
Honestly, when you're talking about the throwing bodies thing, I thought that there was a growing trend from the side of SRG, fights after fights, whereby they have the two front lines and then the rest of the back lines just couldn't seem to catch up. I thought that was the end of it, right? SRG just just implodes upon themselves because frontline's always dead. And then the level 3, oh, what can I do then?
You think that could be something that they're going to adapt to the next match here? Like find something other than high loss for Cram? Because so far, it's clear if Cram is losing out on his lane, and especially if he's like the dedicated person to open up the map. We saw the damage taken. He was already in the 200s of thousands.
Yeah, I think right now, I think in terms of the strategy, I feel like Selangor Red Giants, I don't think they need to change much. I feel like what they're doing right here is they're playing and they're adapting on the fly. If you notice how Selangor Red Giants was able to sniff out that diversion coming out from Red, they actually protected Innocent, and Innocent became the bait. Once you protect Innocent, he's able to dish out the damage, and when Red just tunnel visions onto the Selangor Red Giants, that's where SRG shine. And I feel like Red almost could have ended the game right there and then, because that diversion at the last moment, that last call, was very scary for Innocent.
Throughout the game, I think Red Esports was making really clean plays too. Their team fighting was actually really, really good. I like the layering that they did with Grace initiating, then Sensui finding a different angle to get a multi-person Sphere of Alpha. There was just some drop-off, and because Al was joining a lot of team fights, it did start slowing down his farm just a little bit as well, since SRG was not dying as much anymore and he wasn't getting as much assist gold as he started the game with.
Actually, that's a really good point, because when we look at the item build progression, you see the big drop-off coming between the 14th to 18th minute of the game. That's where you see Innocent get the Wind of Nature, and then all of a sudden the rest of his items start rolling in really, really quickly. I think this is the point of the game where I think that Red Esports, they had no clear way to actually approach SRG despite taking a majority of the turrets.
I like the itemization there. You can, yeah, like you mentioned, Gideon, you can see it very clearly. The items really started racking up once Innocent was able to get some assist gold, some shutdown gold, because Red Esports were starting to throw bodies a little bit here and there. We even see like Skies, for example, going for that Malefic Roar before the BOD just to whittle down the tankier members of Red Esports. There's some composure that was regained by the Red Giants the later the game went. I'm just hoping they can take that composure into the start of the next game.
Now, what are your thoughts on this, Jace? Because I feel like every single composition as of right now in the meta needs to have a secondary win condition to make you feel comfortable. You have your late game insurance, and then maybe you have like somebody who plays early to mid, maybe even mid to late. But here, it felt like Sakai's that early game really had no impact at all. And yes, I know that Cram was already losing his lane, but it just felt like the mid trio, it's not working out. Something's getting in between the cogs.
Yeah, I just feel like, you know, Sakai's going on for the War Axe kind of method. It's just kind of slowing down in terms of his assassination, right? So you want to go in, try to rack up the burst damage, and then get out. That's why you drive him as a jungler. That's why he has an execution in a way. I mean, it's a little bit controversial, in my opinion, but I love an assassin Suyo, right?
I think it's. I definitely think that it's. I think he fell behind, right? He already got like the Fury Hammer. Only towards 7 minutes is when he actually did. Well, that being said, though, I am curious to see, because M6 top 6 power rankings. Where do you think Malaysia is standing amongst everybody else? I did a media interview just now, and they put me on the spot, so I'm gonna apply it to you guys too. Right now, do you think we're at that international level just yet?
I think we are. It's just not the teams I was expecting, because everyone thought SRG was going to dominate the competition and put up a really strong fight in the internationals. And yet, Vamos are the first team to qualify to M6.
What about you, Abstract?
I will definitely say that Malaysia is climbing up the power ranking.
Yeah.
And in his defense, we were told not to put any Malaysian teams yet.
Yep. That's why.
You just had to ruin it, man.
Thank you.
I was setting up for this.
Hey, Singaporeans with Singaporeans, I'm with you, no problem.
I gotta let Zipper know to make sure that we only have one Singaporean at a time. This is too much power. but talk to me. Talk to me here. M6 top 6 power rankings. Why are we leaning just like this?
I just feel like the side of the vernacular on it, right, in terms of how the performance in the PH has been really showing up very, very well.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, apart from that, I have to put NIB flag.
Keep talking to me dirty. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. I love my voice. And of course, apart from that, I'm starting to feel like, you know, I trust in
The Moba Zane factor
For the side of NACT, you know, that's why I think BTK can actually make.
Okay, yeah, you can stop right there. All right, you can. I don't need to hear anything more about a BTK or with that voice either. Abstract, Honestly, where do you think we lie? Because again, I can somewhat agree with the power rankings. I do think that, you know, as much as I like to, as long as we have this love-hate relationship with NA overall, I feel like we can do better. Hold on first, because we also asked Red Esports' Kim, what's your reaction when Todak defeated SRG? And he said, I think Todak deserved this victory. Previously, we knew no one could defeat SRG, but this season, we saw MV defeat SRG in the regular season. In the playoffs, Todak won, so it's not impossible for us to win.
Oh, wait, okay, never mind. I wanted to be a little lenient, but okay.
Your question? Okay.
Okay. You ask.
There we go. Good question again.
Wait, it actually does sound like
Right?
a
It
video.
does.
It's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
It's genuinely pretty accurate. Thanks, Zipper, for always being part of us here. But yeah, walk us through it. Walk us through it, because again, SRG was our go-to, our pinnacle of the international.
Honestly, SRG, I'm not exactly sure where do they stand at this point in time, right? It could be the Mercers, it could be all the other curses coming in through, but I definitely tremble for SRG looking at the fact that they are kind of having problems with Red Esports, which is something that we all don't expect. While in the meantime, all the other international teams, they give a lot of respect over to SRG. So at this point in time, it's more of the fact that I know that the level of competition in Malaysia is definitely rising. But for SRG, I think that they just needed to be kicked in a corner until they can finally come out as a Superman.
Well, hopefully that Superman's going to be enough, because when we're looking at the most picked heroes, our biggest problem has been Jushin, but also amongst all regions, Lo Yi. Lo Yi players are dangerous because they force you to think about the map a little bit differently. Similarly like Chip, but I feel like Lo Yi, dude, I keep remembering moments where Kim is just like, hey, let's accelerate this even further, right? Chip is like, we engage. Kim is like, no. We hopscotch and kill.
I mean, we have to look no further than Zion Senpoi speed delivering Chiku into the base business to close out the series, right? That diversion lives up to the skill name. You really gotta be thinking about it at all times. And that's why teams like Todak and Vamos ban it so often.
Honestly, if I were a player, right, or a coach, I would always say that Chip and Loy is something that I would definitely want to take out, just so that we don't have to keep thinking about these two heroes.
Yeah.
Because you constantly need to, the map this, the map that. There's already so much we need to do, but yet I have to be very cautious and aware about a possible diversion.
Yep, especially when you're so focused onto your team fights. The last thing you expect is somebody coming up from the back, right?
We're only human.
Yep. Like, playing against Chip and Loyi is basically like when they added letters to mathematics.
Oh, that's what, wait, actually I enjoyed it.
You like the unknowns? I don't.
I love playing with variables.
I don't know.
He don't speak for all Chinese, by the way, in Singapore.
That's very oddly specific, but all right. I'll leave it at that. But currently, Red, when it comes down to that win rate, it's looking pretty decent. I do think that Red Esports has a significant chance against SRG. But what about you, Jays, right? As you heard from Kim just now, everybody technically has proven, well, two teams have proven that it's possible to knock them down before we head on over to M6. Do you think Red could do that to book a slot to M6?
Ooh, that's actually a very tall order, right? We talk about how Red, you know, throughout the regular season, their performance is still not too bad, not too shabby either. They barely made it in through the playoffs itself, but, you know, taking games from, you know, the current M6 slot secured by the side of Vamos, I think they can potentially take 1 or 2 games, but this is Selangor Red Giants we're talking about. They're carrying the hopes and dreams of the Malaysians to be able to complete that golden road.
You sound like a new MPL fan, because Todak has been there for a very long time, and I think he also can make that same argument.
Hey, I watched Todak as well. I was a massive fan of Chiku guys back then. Watching from MPL Singapore, it's so amazing to watch it.
Well, let's get right into the draft here between these two teams. Let's see what the adaptations are with Red Esports on blue side first pick up against SRG on the red side to their colors on second pick.
So we already know in this current meta, Red side has to deal with a bit of a handicap in that they have to be the ones to ban heroes like Chip, Zusin, Suyo, Lo Yi, and it's just impossible to get rid of all of them. That's where the strategy of the opening picks comes from, and why so many teams are toying around with Suyo, Zusin. Who do I give over? What is my game plan?
I think that this is currently the very first time we see Red side took the burden of all these 3 heroes into the banning pool.
Yeah.
I think it's totally fine. I think it's absolutely necessary to a certain degree.
Important.
I mean, we haven't seen SRG beat Jushin or Suyo in a best of 5 series just yet, right? Maybe they had like a couple of hopes, but they inevitably lost the game. So now Red Esports, they're going to be locking in Phoveus, a strong opener at the beginning of our regular season at MPL MY, but things have kind of shifted. And 2 ways that we've seen them do it is either, hey, let's give a losing lane to TLID anyways, but as long as he clears fast and makes an impact in the jungle, it doesn't matter.
Phoveus as a hero has also been losing a bit of priority in the international scene because teams that are smart know that they can bait him into them and just take him out by himself.
The rat trap.
Yeah, especially in Phoveus love to overstand a lot, especially when you just keep spamming your demonic force as well, when you keep hunting demonic pursuit as well. But I think right now, I just want to see more Khaleeds, right? I also feel like Loi is a really good one, especially right here to see SRG selecting it up as well. You don't want to throw it against Red, right? Every time when the duality procs, you also proc the passive of Phoveus, and that could spell doom over the side of Selangor Red Giant.
Now, I've always talked about this theory of teams who like to ban, like to pick certain key heroes, also feel like it's necessary to ban them. We saw that with the Yve. Now we see the Novaria come out as a response from Loi, the classic way to deal with the Loi, with the Astral Echoes being able to kind of open up the map for you without putting yourself in danger. But that Bane, holy, this is dangerous, because now SRG really have to think, how exactly do we engage properly?
Bane is a hero that deals very well against dive comps like an alpha pick, and when Sensui plays it, he goes into full objective mindset. Every time Deadly Catch is off cooldown, he's gonna hit a tower with it.
Do they go Lolita here?
Ooh.
A way to disengage, a way to reflect projectiles, including the Deadly Catch.
Yeah, that would be very nutty, right? Especially when when side of Red will see a diversion, the most immediate response from the side of Bane is to just throw the Deadly Catch, and SRG could just appear, hey, I have a shield, bouncing the shock right back at you, and then just start going ham.
Well, instead, they go for the Matilda. And now here's the thing. Matilda is kind of unique and interesting, specifically to MPL MY. I know amongst the other regions, it's highly prioritized for its sustainability and mobility because of how pinpoint accurate you get into these fights. But for MPL MY, it's kind of on the low down in overall picks.
Honestly, what I was expecting is, yes, priority of Matilda. She's got kit for escape, for initiation. She's a queen when it comes down to actually being able to have so much pressure in the early games.
Besides that as well, Matilda is a pick that actually heavily enables Alpha, to the point where Matilda Alpha combo is something that international teams will give respect to. So early game is the focus for Selangor Red Giants. We mentioned it seems to be a weak point for them this playoffs. Let's see if they can change that.
I'm curious to see whether SRG is considering getting rid of the big playmakers, inclusive of Cho as well. They got rid of the Kaja, which I think, you know, fair enough. Lockdown and most importantly, suppression is kind of nasty. People are still asking for jerseys. And then cut back to Simon. He doesn't even care. He's too busy thinking about, like, man, this draft. It's all about the draft. I can't think about giving out jerseys.
Simon is stressed, and you can't blame him. SRG has not been performing the way anyone would have expected this playoff. So until they can regain their previous form, he's got other things to worry about.
So now the new trend, not new trend, sorry, but one of the trends that we have also seen is the fact that you win early game, you eventually will be able to kind of get a pretty nice snowball into the mid stages to secure you the win. And so far, when it comes down to SRG's game against Todak, clearly they don't get the early game. Is this somewhat of a kind of new thing coming into playoffs by SRG heavily drafts into the early game?
Well, I think that SRG, they have tried a couple of times, but it's more so the composition. The compositions are focused around strong laners than it is strong priority. Well, I mean, previously in their majority of their wins in the regular season, most of the time it's like, oh, Cram is doing really, really well, Innocent is doing really, really well, and the mid trio is doing really well. So there's not a lot to really falter in that area until we start thinking about the Khaleeds. And now it's not just about the laning phase, it's about the rotations in the laning phase.
Yeah, traditionally, SRG likes to draft compositions that allow them to form small independent units, especially when they win in certain parts of the map, because that allows them to spread out team fights, allows them to move on their own regardless of who they're paired up with, and slowly gain advantage through that. Nowadays, it's a little harder though, because more teams are going for team fights.
It's about finding those kill squads, right? Now coming into the second phase, Edith, Natan, We do see Kaja and as well as Khalid banned out. What is this first pick for... Oh, sorry. What is this next pick for SRG in the second phase? It looks like they've already locked it in. They're going to go for blue.
Wow. I never thought I'd see the glue right here in MPL MY, because when Ding for the side of MPL Singapore brought it out, it was a monster, especially slowing everybody down. And then after that, you have that bonus possession to just pull people away. And that is really nutty coming up for SRG.
I know we're going to lean into this, Rafa, because you and me both know that Cram, Year 3 got the taste of it. Phoveus versus Glue, it is not a good matchup for Fove.
In that game, he just didn't get the play. Straight up, already zoned out of the lane at level 1. And Cram loves EXP laners that get in your face.
And honestly, Glue is one of those heroes that is pesky and annoying like a cockroach that just can't die, right? Honestly, sometimes it gets me wondering, do you even bother about this Glue at all?
Leave him alone.
Can you really afford to leave him alone?
I don't know. It's like a cockroach flying in your face. Do you deal with it or you just let it happen, right?
I think you unconsciously deal with it.
Unconscious means like you slap it right in the face?
Bleh.
That's my response. I gotta agree with Abstract with that one.
Actually, that is a good metaphor, isn't it? It is like a cockroach lands on your friend and then you slap him.
Oh wait, that is my literally split.
You are doing damage to your own teammate.
Why are the cockroaches multiplying? That's a horror story. I can't. That's some eldritch nonsense I don't want to deal with. But this final pick coming up from SRG is going to be important because Irithel and Arla, they're going to say, yo, we're just not going to give Glue space. We're going to make sure we can stay far, far away. And SRG is like, you know what? If you want to try and pull away from us, we're going to figure out a way to get even deeper into enemy lines with the Claude.
I am not personally a big fan of Claude anymore. I have to say, there's less stuff that directly counters him this game, but it feels like the hero's lacking something.
Is it lacking something? I mean, the whole team wants to kind of run forward into the enemy squad, and hopefully the deadly catch is going to be enough.
Man, I hope that will be the case because Red is drafting a really very scary draft to counter everything that SRG is throwing at them in terms of the dive, but we shall see how they will execute that one.
I think it's going to be a very cold war between the two. A war of information. Whoever has more information can make the better decisions as we head on over into the land of Dawn. We're jumping right into this best of 5. Game number 2 on its way. 1-0 for Red Esports. SRG looking to equalize.
Step by step, Red v Red. Hopefully, you all are ready for this because it's going to be game 2. And SRG are looking to make up for past grievances and get a huge advantage in the series.
Now, I am a little bit worried about SRG in these cases because I feel like Red Esports' composition so easy to pull off, right? You see 5 people coming at you, you press 1 button, you disengage. That's what it feels like.
I agree with you, Gideon. I feel like they have a lot of stuff, though.
Please,
Please, kid. Oh,
Grace.
that is scary.
Grace just barely blocked that last hit from the Loyi. Otherwise, Kim was dead.
I'm telling you, the pucker factor in this game is going through the roof, man. It's just the butts, man. Got to squeeze those buttons. It's scary. It's really, really scary. And it doesn't help the fact that when looking at the emblems as well, we are expecting Cram to actually rotate much faster than this Phoveus by trying to control the lane, but even so, reach there as quick as possible. Let's not forget, even Ao, back to Master Assassin up against this Claude.
If he's able to get going, we've already seen how much damage Irithel can do. He farmed a little slower than Innocent in the previous game, but I feel like Irithel will have a greater impact compared to Claude at most stages. So farm speed, we'll have to see.
I am curious about how Grace is going to play it because, again, this is Arla. It is a huge playmaker, but at the same time, doesn't exactly have the best escape mechanics. Once you're in, you're pretty deep in there, and there's no means of escape unless Ensui drops the ult.
But I don't think Grace is too... hold on.
Oh, deadly catch all the way up to the top lane. Innocent hopes to run away, but he decides to run right into the face of Owl.
No!
That's his point, and that worked out.
No!
Normally you want to run back, right? But he's like, no, let me face the enemy. But speaking of facing the enemy, Innocent, what are you doing? Why are you still in the lane? As he helps things out and he managed to kind of drop in an assist.
I can't.
And then Cram dies to the tower.
Oh.
Great. Looking for him.
But it doesn't seem like they will be able to find the innocent at this point in time. Owl wants to catch up, but wasn't able to. What is this Pucker Fest?
Oh man, when you said pucker factor, the teams heard you.
It's too literal. It's too literal. I feel like my vertigo is kicking in. It feels like I'm looking at the side of like a 20-story building, and then I can't see the bottom where the pavement is. And I'm like, nah. I don't want to stand so close to the edge anymore.
At this point in time, Gideon is just inside out.
I'm about to throw up. The margins are very, very narrow. And I think that Red Esports generally should have a better way of opening up the map compared to SRG. But like, it felt like that early game, hey, we don't need the information. It's about trading.
In comparison, I think Red Giants will be able to make stuff happen quicker because they do have this mid trio of Matilda, Loyi, Alpha compared to Red Esports. But Red, if they can keep things consistent, have a stronger mid game, in my opinion.
Circling Eagle connects down, right down onto Grace. Quick flicker away. It doesn't seem like he will be using his final sledge just yet as Cram runs right into his face and really want to do something about this. But Cram immediately gets away with the guiding wind.
Yeah, able to get away, no problem. Unfortunate, slightly missed opportunity, but honestly, they got battle spells out of Grace, which I think is good enough. He's not going to have that flicker for the upcoming turtle, and hopefully that's going to be enough for SRG to maybe find some angles. Interesting position here down on the bot side, though.
Good amount of gathering around this bottom side of the map. We know that Cram already had to recall because he joined those fights and took a lot of damage, so I guess,
Actually lands, but Yums, he did manage to just get himself away pretty simply. Red Esports doesn't seem like they have very good follow-ups even after their final slash.
I'm a little worried here. It's not unusual for Cram to join fights a lot more often than his opposing EXP laner, but he's losing a lot of lane presence.
Yeah, Sensui's getting a free push on bot side. He's got the tier 1.
And now all 5 members from the side of SRG marches himself over to the turtle side, and it does seem like Split connect down in the Grace and managed to yoink him out of commission.
I am very confused. So Sensui goes out to the bot side, gets the tier 1. What is the rest of the team doing? Like, why are we even bothering to contest this? You just need to protect them from the dive.
I agree with you. No reason for them to contest the turtle when their jungler is literally doing something.
Hey, yo,
Iris is just taking the entire wall all by himself. He wants to walk the glue underneath the turret, but he continues up with the Infernal Pursuit.
Why?
I think he wanted to have like
I get it.
small little No, wait,
iframe.
It's no longer iframe, right? It's just untargetable, right?
He wanted a bit, because Cram was going to eventually kill him if he didn't get some extra HP from using his ult. So he had to do it, and then Cram just pulled him away.
But then you would leave Cram underneath the turret and you would force Yums to have to use the guiding winds. I don't see the value of like giving the free delivery without the guiding winds. At least force something out of them, right?
Maybe playing around with the Brave Smite is what is in his mind at a point in time.
I suppose. I think there was a hard way to punish regardless, but now Yums with Flask of the Oasis complete. Stormy trying to TP. Where is he TPing to?
Oh, Sensui!
What?
Surprise!
Ow!
Right in there at the perfect time.
How did they know he was there and on the opposite side of the map?
And speaking of which, Grace, surprisingly, he still survived all of that. Innocent melted down right underneath his own turret.
Okay, so they do get a little bit of trade on both sides. However, Red Esports still a turret ahead of Selangor Red Giants, despite the gold lead only being 500. We haven't really broken even just yet, and Cram just showing why he's an absolute monster on this glue.
This glue is just hands down annoying, as we have talked about time and time again. The Infernal Pursuit can only get him so far, but Red Esports seems to kind of want to continue this. Grace immediately vengeance forward on the Cram, but at least they know the turtle's coming.
Wait, Stormy's opening up the map on towards the purple side.
Doesn't seem like things are going to be working. And everything else is going to be puckering out for us. Owl gets onto his motorbike, and he's going to be A-okay, at least for now. The rest of the members from the side of Red Esports, and no one down just yet, but Sensui takes the fall instead.
If Cram does not get the MVP by the end of this game, or we see a bigger play from out of the rest of the members of SRG, I'm going to be very disappointed because Cram is in full control. He is in the driver's seat. He is pushing out everybody else and telling the Tesla car, hey, I don't need that AI. I got my own 2 hands and feet.
Red Esports definitely dealing with a bit of cockroach problem right now, and Cram is not letting them go. That previous fight actually could have ended really badly because the flicker from Humans pulled them into the Deadly Cat final slash combo. When we talked about this, Red Esports needs items. They need the mid game to really do enough DPS, and because of that, Red Giants were not punished.
Yeah, let's also not forget that in terms of like AoE damage, like yes, Owl is supposed to be the big damage dealer, but sometimes he can't go into position. The worst part about Sensui, the Deadly Catch is a great idea. However, he is a melee-based hero. If he wants to get that passive off, it's kind of tough to walk up to SRG.
And we can really see that SRG as well, starting to look a bit more like SRG. They're reading their opponent's movements. That previous diversion play to find Sensui, I don't know how they tracked his position like that, but this is good. This is exactly what we want to see. And Cram, when he's on heroes like this, the Glue, the Tamas, the CC, he makes things happen.
Sensui.
Can he get out?
Check
Not
in.
again!
Oh, no!
Here's Johnny as the Raz of Selangor Red Giants knocks on the door of Sensui, bringing him down once again on his split push journey.
It's too telegraphed. I think the SRG have figured out a pattern about Red Esports. They noticed the first time of the split push, the 4v5 up by Turtle side, and they haven't let it go just yet. They get confirmation with Cram, counting the number of members down on the opposite side before they make the call.
Well, things are looking up now for the Red Giants and looking down for Red Esports.
Everyone wants a piece of Cram. And look at this. Red Esports, they choose to slap the cockroach right in the face, but yet he's still flying around. Well, at least, well, he's kind of half dead at this point in time. But Selangor Red Giants, they still manage to get a lot of heal right out of that.
I know we keep calling him a cockroach, and some people may take offense to Cram, but you have to admit, this man is eating nukes to the face. Just like cockroaches, he survives the toughest of scenarios, even if it's radiation. Cancer, not a problem. I'm Glue. I can take it.
I feel like you guys wouldn't appreciate him in Singapore either because he's just leaving stuff on the floor everywhere.
We're gonna find him, man. At this point, we're gonna find him.
Well, the fight is gone going here. They're rushing straight in.
And immediately Innocent manages to find one. And do we have more of this? Red Esports, 3 men taken down. Selangor Red Giants, this is just annoying from the side of Cram.
I swear, more teams are going to start picking up Glue now that the world is watching us here in playoffs. We saw this in the regular season, and I've been waiting for a time where the rest of the world is going to figure out an answer to this Phobius. But now, at least with the meta and the way that it's positioned in the draft, especially against Red side, this is a great answer. Just look at the control he has.
You know, I can't help but see Glue and just be like, yeah, that is someone that's going into Singaporean land and just throwing chewing gum on the floor.
Well, he is in the Jellyman skin as well, straight up.
Yeah, eating it back and then throwing it back out again. Kind of the reason why we kind of banned chewing gum in the first place.
Hold on.
And
not done.
Sensui gonna be taken down once again as now Cram makes his debut right in the face of Grace, taking 2% off from the side of Red Esports while the Lord is preparing to plunder right down the middle lane.
It kind of looks like SRG has kind of found their footing. They've got their momentum again back to regular season form.
And now the rest of the Selangor Red Giants knocks onto the door on the side of Red Esports. And now the further pursuit from the side of Iris hopes that he will be able to keep people alive. But now it's just going to be left with Kim. What can he possibly do? As Selangor Red Giants knocks on the core and shattered it to the core.
This is what we've been waiting for, isn't it, Gideon? This is the Selangor Red Giants.
They've equalized at the very least, trying their absolute best each time, but at least this is a much better showing than game number 1. In my mind, that game number 1 was gonna go to Red Esports here, but I think this redemption arc is looking much better now.
Slowly rising up, I will say. Game number 1, I definitely can't wait in fear for SRG. This game, I gotta say, Cram made it so convincing for SRG and like, okay, so this is what Cram is actually made of, and, well, not chewing gum, but the fact that this is how Cram normally would play.
Well, it's match point as we have it. Jace, come on back in here.
Yep.
Talk to me about this game. It's very different from game 1 coming into game 2, and it just feels like, you know, SRG, they found their footing.
Yeah, definitely. You guys talk about it's a redemption arc. Remember game number 1, we're doubting Cram in terms of capabilities, but now game number 2, they hurt you, he take offense, and he's literally showing everybody with that glue. Because to be honest, I felt like Selangor Red Giants felt the red like an open book. Immediately when you guys mentioned that Sensui likes to throw the deadly catch at the turrets, hey, they went at him and caught him right down with his pants down.
I mean, let's look at the highlights one more time. Our MVP of this game going over to Sakai is kind of interesting. I mean, yes, he was catching people off guard, like Sensui, for an example, time and time again, even like this moment right here.
Yep.
But generally, just the fact that they don't have an effective way to open the map. Sorry, when I say effective, I mean a safe way to open the map. Cram was just too big of a building.
Yeah, exactly. There's no response coming up from Red Esports, right? You talk about opening up the map, the Novara is supposed to do that role. But I think one of the biggest thing that I find from the side of Red is that these deadly catches are not deadly at all. If SRG is able to survive the first burst coming out from the deadly catch, SRG will stomp against Red, because the whole plan of Red is, hey, we see a diversion, we throw everything at it. If SRG survive that first onslaught, they will win that team fight.
Now talk to me about our MVP of the game, Sakai. He goes for an interesting build because most of the time we're expecting utility items, but instead, not Winter Crown, goes straight into the blade armor.
Yeah, he just wants to be able to counteract some of the physical damage coming at him, because this will work a little bit against Iritel, work a little bit against Bane. He knows he's going to be taking the front line behind Cram, so he will still be taking a good amount of damage, and he doesn't have to invest too heavily in DPS, since he already has a mid lane and gold lane that do quite a lot of damage on their own. The coordination between the Matilda along with this Alpha really expanded SRG's influence across the map.
Now, I know we've been tooting SRG's horn a little too much, I would say, but especially in this game with so much momentum, what can Red Esports do to actually adapt to it? I feel like, yes, this is a bit of a drafting problem coming in from Red, but like in terms of mentality, how else can they face off SRG?
Red kind of seems like they had a very good game in the first one, and I think that they can kind of get themselves back into that momentum again, I suppose, especially when it comes down to tempo, right? When it comes down to game number 2, they are kind of playing more of like a team-wide AoE kind of thing. They want to set up nice wombo combo kind of thing. We did manage to see that happening once, but now that SRG kind of takes it kind of like a tag team duel, we kind of go together kind of thing, it worked out pretty nicely for SRG.
Do you agree with this, Jace? Or do you think that, you know, Red Esports, it's just purely the draft, that's all they need to change and they're good?
I think that's not a draft. I feel like Red coming in with a draft to kind of answer against SRG, but I feel like they're not utilizing the draft really well, right? What I want to see is big ultimates coming out, SRG get bursted down, hey, Red takes the win, right? After that, what SRG realizes is that they're really smart, right? I want to throw back to game number 1 where, you know, Innocent was initially targeted, and immediately what SRG did, they turned around, protected Innocent, and then won the game through there. Game number 2, what they realized is, hey, since we start split pushing, right? So what did they do? They start targeting down Sensui unable to farm up. Now you lose a lot of damage. You cannot burst SRG down.
So does that mean that Sensui is most likely going to go back onto this Alpha once again to play that utility role for the team? Or do you think that they're going to completely pivot? Because I feel right now, the big issue is that Kim isn't getting his power picks.
This is another direction I kind of want to steer us into. The fact that SRG's lineup is slightly easier to use as compared to whatever that they have been using, especially for Sakai. Sakai's using the Alpha. Technically, you have one job: go in, be tanky, and then melt people down with true damage. As compared to the conventional Ling, Fanny, yada yada yada, high mechanics, oh unga bunga.
I feel like it goes both ways here. What about you, Stafa? What are your thoughts?
In regards to that specifically, I think the heroes on SRG are a little easier to play, but I think that comp from Red Esports is actually a little easier in a team fight setting.
Yeah.
But in terms of drafting, I think what happened here was that Red Esports let SRG do what they wanted.
Yes.
We prioritized. SRG loves lane priority, especially side lane priority.
Yep.
They first pick Phobius, first mistake. Already you are letting Cram counter pick you. Then they revealed the Novaria the instant that the Loyi came out. Yes, Astral Echo is very good at scouting out diversion plays, but you are immediately giving away mid lane priority when your opponent already has Alpha and Matilda. you are allowing them too much map control, and you are putting yourself in a team composition that needs time to come online and doesn't have the tools to stop that early game.
We did see a couple, well, at least we didn't see Yum's blunder as much. It is a middle tilde, it's pretty hard to blunder it on it.
Yep.
But generally, I am interested because again, with SRG playing the way that they did, especially on this alpha, right? A lot of times it's just picking off the two, either Iris or they're looking for Sensui. That's where a majority of these assists do come from, and even for the kills itself. Does that mean that Grace has to change from instead of Arla into something that can actually contest for that mid lane a little more safely?
I would think so. Arlet is fine, but I don't think this was the game to play it. SRG already has tools to get out of that final slash. Yes, you can punish them if like you manage to figure out where they're diversioning into, then you just sweep them all away. That actually happened once. But you have a Matilda on the opposite side. And again, you don't really have the damage to follow up on a Roam Arlet too. So rather than the pick itself, I think it's the combination of the order of drafting and the way it interacts with SRG.
All right. Would Grok, if you just switched out one pick and you put Grok instead of Arla, do you think it would have been a different game?
It would have helped, but I don't think it would have made enough of an impact. You
I
could have
see.
slowed down Skies a bit if you got like the wall resets.
Yeah.
But if Matilda or Lo Yi push teleports the alpha behind the Grok,
Also a good point. Also a good point. I don't know. Adaptation is gonna be it's gonna be a little hard for Red Esports.
Exactly.
Any ideas or concepts you got for Red Esports coming into this game?
I think it's just more importantly is that Red Esports unable to adapt on the fly. In game number 1, game number 2, you saw that Selangor Red Giants was the one that's adapting on the fly. They read Red Esports like an open book. Right now, I just felt if had Red Esports stop sending Sensui off the side of the map, start joining team fights, get the farm up, they will have enough damage to maintain the same draft to win against SRG in game number 2.
So it's really just about timing. All right, with that being said, I'm getting word that we've got some, wait, correspondent, Poji, is that you and who are you with? Somebody on the bench? Poji, please introduce your guest.
MPL Offstage yang dikuasakan oleh Hot Link. Istimewa bersama anda hari ini. Gorgeous, apa khabar Gorgeous?
Khabar baik.
Alright Gorgeous. Sikit je lagi nak melangkah. Kan? Tapi persoalannya kan, berat ke tak berat? Sebab kalau kata korang menang game lepas ni, korang kena main lagi satu game untuk ke Grand Final. Persediaannya macam mana?
Persediaan untuk lawan Todak after this, if menang lah. InsyaAllah menang lah. 3-0. Kita orang akan just kekalkan momentum game ni untuk ride on to the next game lah. Semoga momentum tu tak hilang lah time kita orang tengah rest.
Alright, mungkin boleh bagi tips kekalkan momentum dengan rest yang macam mana? Game penat.
Game penat.
Kan. Okey, mungkin ada rahsia dia sebab dia ada psikologis dia sendiri. Tapi
Betul.
soalan seterusnya yang saya nak tanyalah Gorgeous kan. Kalau tak diikutkan kan, persediaan sekarang bukan saja M6, korang ada juga IESF. Adakah dengan adanya game-game macam ni akan bagi korang ada satu momentum ataupun lonjakan ataupun anjakan paradigma ataupun macam mana persediaannya, preparation, movement, steadiness?
Untuk AFF lah.
Yes.
Semestinya sambil-sambil training MPL tu dia sekali lah dengan ISF tu. Cuma tak ada lawless je lah.
Alright. Tapi okey, ni soalan yang sedikit sensitif. Region mana yang lagi susah? Malaysia ke, PH ke, Indonesia untuk ke M6?
Nak based on apa? Based on screamer tak lah korang.
Jangan leak. Nanti ada orang klik marah.
Okay. Based on performance sekarang, saya boleh kata Indo lah. Indo lagi kuat lah.
Indo kuat. Clip. Gorgeous just said Indo may be the strongest region out there. Please clip. Macam tu. Tapi apa-apa pun, terima kasih. Mungkin shout out lagi sekali kepada semua peminat Gorgeous. Selangor Red Giant. Macam tu.
Okay guys, thank you kepada penyokong-penyokong Selangor Red Giant yang sudi datang ke Johor. Aku tahu juga ada yang datang dari jauh. Datang daripada mana tak tahu lah. Tapi jauh tu pasti. Terima kasih sebab sanggup luangkan masa korang untuk datang ke MPL lah dekat Johor ni.
Itu dia daripada Gorgeous. Begitu juga daripada saya. Terima kasih kepada segala-galanya. Let's go. Kita pergi ke Caster Des.
Thanks, Boji. Thank you, Goja. Some interesting ideas here, but it's time to get back to business right now. Match point for SRG, and one more win to eventually face off Todak later today. Ideally, Red would like to reverse sweep this, but the question is, how exactly are they going to pull that off?
Yeah, I think right now it's just all about Red just playing a little more flexible, being a little bit open-minded, because I feel like right now, the way they've been executing these kind of drops is very single-dimensional when the drop is, there's a lot of ways to engage.
There are a lot of ways to engage, so we obviously asked SRG Sakai's fans said that you have been underperforming. What do you think about that statement? And he said, I think I accept that criticism because of the new patch. They have new metas like Revitalize. I still can't adapt to it just yet. Very young, very honest in a matter of fact, and I feel like maybe to a fault.
Actually, pointing out the Revitalize, that is kind of a new thing, right?
Yeah.
We've got Todd, Hylos, Hilda all taking Revitalize more often now. It really catches you off guard when you are an assassin player and when you're used to certain thresholds where like, okay, the kill's gonna go through right now and then they suddenly heal up. That could be why Skies felt so off when the playoffs started.
And especially sometimes not only one Revitalize, we're talking about two
Yeah.
Revitalize, and they stack together, and then you're like, oh, I'm dying. Oh wait, I'm half HP now. It's like even I think any assassin will think that, yeah, I can't deal with this.
Yeah, it can get a little tough, but let's actually look at the head-to-head between Sakai's and as well as Sensui when it comes down to it. Average KDA is looking more over to Sakai's. Of course, this is total stats, including the regular seasons. The GPM is what's pretty close, but the average turtle leaning into Sensui.
Yeah, just kind of tells you that the fact that SRG likes to play towards the late, right? We are really focusing on, hunkering down, making sure that, hey, we got all the items up before we engage into the fight. Whereas on the other side, Red, remember before we started the game, we're also looking at the higher first blood rate, which means that Red is really aggressive in trying to find pickoffs and snowball in the early game. But we see in game number 1, they can get an early snowball, they can get a mid-game power spike, but can they end the game? That is the biggest fault.
I feel like as much as the early game kind of drives the mid and as well as the late game, I feel like SRG definitely, like the big comparisons is like, the big two, SRG and as well as Vamos. SRG just overall the Swiss Army knife, good at what they do, very polished. And then there's Vamos who's like very much so into that early game. That's something that we don't see from a lot of teams, that early game presence.
And in the previous meta, it wasn't quite as important to get a straight-up early game snowball because it wasn't too difficult to get farm and stuff. And even if you gave up 1 or 2 turtles, you could make that comeback. I think that's why the stat was low as well. SRG gives up first turtle quite often, actually. So a lot has changed, and it's just witnessing these teams and how they're responding to that change, I think is the name of the playoff.
Well, it's about evolution here as we get into our third match in this best of 5. SRG currently 2 points on match point against Red Esports. SRG on the blue side, Red Esports on the red. Matilda, Gatot, Yiv being banned out for the side of SRG. Red Esports get rid of Jushin, Fanny, and Chip.
Yeah, it sounds to me like, going back to game number 1, this is the exact same ban patterns coming out from the side of Coach Arcadia from Selangor Red Giants. Immediately first pick Suyo, exactly to the script of game number 1.
But they're going to be picking up Loyi this time around. Now, I am interested to see whether Stormy is going to go back on that Aurora, and if they want to play a little bit more, well, I want to say around priority, I think that Lilia is something that we haven't seen just yet.
That is true. Lilia, still a pretty strong hero in terms of doing damage. But we're seeing a bit of a shift, very similar to the game 1 drafts with the Suyo into Loyi Edith. This time we have the Hylos Valentina for SRG.
Exactly the same here.
There is a bit of a change though. The Valentina, this used to be the Natan pick coming out from SRG's side, which Red was able to kind of respond to. Now that they've got it, the gold lanes are kind of in flux.
Injustice in the world.
It's interesting. Means that Stormy can also steal that diversion or even the primal wrath from Edith. And we've already seen how the Starlian Scythe can help boost that damage
significantly. And not to mention that, again, Valentina goes really well against general melee heroes, right? Anybody who is within that Shadow Strike range is going to struggle once they get feared.
Yeah,
but right now, going into the banning phase right now, Cho is getting taken away. Both sides have selected their gold laners as of now. Both sides are not looking to ban away the gold laners, trying to limit and open up more opportunities for the gold laners. But the question is, Red in game number 1, they couldn't end the game because of the Nathan just coming up online. Are they going to spend that one ban slot right here, or are they looking to take it away from SRG instead?
I think it doesn't really matter because Red side will always have that last pick. So until SRG shows their full composition, they're probably going to look for a winning matchup for Owl once again. Because again, that was why game number 1 was already so heavily into Red Esports' favor from early to mid.
I think that that's a very good thing that we could look at, right? The fact that Red has got a good answer to their early game and the mid stages of the game. Technically, they lost that game only because of a couple of well thought out answers from the side of SRG. So maybe, you know, back onto the calculated risks and rewards for the side of Red. Perhaps what they have done in the early and the mid has been going great. Maybe change things out a little bit, make sure that find a way whereby they don't give Innocent that kind of farming space again.
This could come down to giving Owl more of a comfort pick, right? Like the Beatrix, for example. Once he gets a couple of items, he just carries games. Doesn't really matter what state it is in. He just does so much to contribute. Looks like SRG will ban the 1-1 instead. And now we go into the second phase of the draft. For Red Esports, I think the most important thing is to not reveal things. Don't get up.
Well, there it is. As you said it, Tadafa. Right as you said it.
The big combo combo into this kind of matchup is really crazy, right? There's a lot of ways that Red could basically force SRG to stay in place.
I guess, but I would have preferred the Khalid pick in this. I feel like Red Esports have opted, they could have gone for Khalid, but instead we're going to deny Beatrix off of SRG because now their final 2 picks could be very much centralized to pivot the composition to look to wombo combo with big AoEs. Now that they don't have that, I think that SRG have to take a second look at this. Maybe they can go for Harith in this particular scenario. He will be able to kind of catch up with the rest of that team. They could go back to Claude one more time because they have the high loss and turn it into a full dive.
I think in this case, Claude is actually not too bad. And looks like SRG agrees with that. They'll go for it. And the Tigreal. It got banned out previously. This time, Yums will have access to that. So we have Glorious Pathway and Implosion. SRG wants to go for the big wombo combo.
It covers about quite a bit of problem, especially when Tigreal have a bit of a problem when it comes down to closing up gaps.
Yeah, usually you expect a flicker implosion. Now, you know, for the side of SRG, I can just walk up to you and implode.
All right, CC being the last pick for Red Esports. This is going to be a really important matchup here. Cram got rolled the last time in this Hylos versus CC, but still needs to provide utility. And even in that game, Yums really struggled on that show. Now it's easier to execute. Jace, walk me through the compositions. What are we expecting in this matchup?
It feels like, you know, for the side of Red, they're going to try to use the same exact tools. Slight changes to the roster, especially in the Beatrix. A lot more better sieging opportunity. But for the side of Selangor Red Giants, though, that Tigreal is something you want to look at. Walking up to implode on something, that's going to be interesting to watch.
It's going to be a scary game. High ground defense, not looking too good for SRG, but the wave clear and priority from Red Esports looking much better this time round. As we head to let him down, this is match point for SRG unless Red can start the reverse sweep here today.
We start the game with quite a lineup coming from both of these two teams, and I absolutely love the way that we have kind of like a marching order from the side of Selangor Red Giants. But before we even jump on to the rest of that, we do have SRG on the blue and Red Esports on the red.
Yeah, don't worry, LaFell isn't here. We're not colorblind. We know what's blue and what's red. I'm sorry to our colorblind viewers out there. First pick always going to be a left. Second pick always going to be on the right. Now, as this game is going to progress, what are the moments that we should be looking for? Obviously, we're looking for level 4, but at the same time, we've seen time and time again that Owl, he's just going for that Master Assassin. He really wants to beat, oh my goodness, Innocent in lane. And Innocent's kind of chunked out here.
Whoa, they are really dueling up here in the gold lane. The fact that Innocent got that close when he doesn't have Master Assassin shows that he's doing a good job here.
How are they trading each other out at almost an equal number? That's the thing that I'm kind of surprised with.
It's got to be that Heart of Thievery, right? He's probably like stacking up before he gets back into these fights. I think once he's like max stacked, he gets...
Oh, Sekai.
Ooh, that was close.
Wow.
Very, very close. A good dodge from Owl. The reaction timing on that, I definitely could not do that.
Oh, no, I would have used Flicker, for sure. Like, I wouldn't even bother with a tactical roll. I'm just flickering out of there. Hell nah.
Instant gratification is what we want, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, but to talk about the timings here, Red Esports in this game definitely has way more damage in the first few minutes. I'm expecting them to have advantage on the first turtle, though they are dealing with a Suyo. This hero handles that very well.
Oh no, Owl. He still have flicker though, but
he's dead.
He went for the flicker, but Innocent winning this Beatrix in the gold lane under 2 minutes?
How?
That's unheard of.
Did he whiff? Did he think that he didn't see the tactical roll? I don't know. I don't know about that one, but things are not going very well right now for Red Esports.
Oh.
That's 2 kills going over to SRG.
Coming from comfort pick from the side of Owl.
Yeah.
He technically should know if whether that can be seen or not.
Like, Owl should understand, Beatrix wins lane against Claude any day of the week.
And he has Master Assassin.
Yeah, Innocent, how? I don't even know. I wish we had a closer look at that. But trading Turtle for 2 kills early on, not very worth it for Red Esports. They're gonna use the diversion to try and steal buff, but Yumes already sees it.
He's currently still at level 3 though, don't have the implosion just yet, but the rest of the members from the side of Red Esports, especially Grace, is taking quite a beating. And now Stormy actually did manage to take away the Primal Wrath and wanted to do something on the Kim, but that is going to be a flicker of Shadow that's going to be connecting, but unfortunately not quite enough to save Kim, as well as himself, as he sacrificed himself to make sure that Red Esports will be able to do a little bit more. Look at the help of the youth and the guys, as Sensui was hoping that he'll be able to close up that fight.
It is 100% now, guys. SRG is back. This is 100% what they did all season.
Oh, this is pissing me off, man. This is
What, are you puckering too hard?
No. I don't have hemorrhoids just yet. I'll let you know and let you have a look at it when it does come. But this Revitalize is kind of bull. It's kind of BS right now. How do you survive that?
It's just great timings, great layering from the Red Giants. And one of the things that they've always been good at in fighting is understanding the nitty-gritty of their limits with every single hero.
Kinda knowing how much you can tank, how much you're gonna have to run away, or when you're gonna run away. That's kind of scary, right? You know how to like stagger the amount of damage and it goes, just kind of cycle how much I take from a certain opponent.
Yeah, but I gotta give it to Grace. He was playing that like perfectly. He tried his absolute best to keep him away, but now this next fight, it's not going to be easy against Stormy. Oh,
Yep, Iris, he kind of went all the way in, but at least he does have Vengeance. But there we go. That's what you want to see! The big implosion, imploding right down onto Red Esports.
Oh man, that is gross. I would not want to be in Red Esports' shoes. Iris did a good job. He bought a lot of time. Rest of the team thought, all right, let's go back up Iris. Yumes rubs his hand together and says,
I can't. Let's look at the instant replay route. Just look at the beautiful feint here. We see that CC jumps on in to try and distract them, but Yumes is not even looking at Iris. He's looking at the 3 juicy targets who's about to get imploded on. And they even, somehow he communicated that with Cram perfectly. Implosion straight into the glorious pathway. Really great stuff coming in from SRG. It feels like the tunnel vision has faded away and now they have their full peripherals.
It's kind of scary, the fact that he started walking towards the enemy fast enough. Even the glowing pathway came out a little bit late. But in the meantime, we're taking a look at Grace. He's terrified, but at least he was able to kind of pop himself right out of the firelight and flickers himself out of the way.
All right, good Primal Wrath there for now. 75 more seconds until we see the next turtle. So far, while this battle has been going out pretty evenly, Sensui previously, like a minute ago, was 2 levels ahead of Sakai's. Now Sakai's has caught up to him, but Sensui, technically, he still has 75% more EXP than Sakai. So almost a level. Maybe they can do something with that timing, considering... Oh, hold on. They've got information about that purple. Are they looking to force?
They could, but they have to be careful. This time Red Esports will be expecting them. So Looks like SRG are gonna focus on cutting off the mid and bot wave instead. While it is true that Sensui still has a bit of an EXP lead, Selangor Red Giants 3k gold lead, 8 kills to 0.
I think they might be able to force here, but Red Esports, they're going to be a little late on this, right? They are expecting Neoms to be in one of those bushes, and right now they don't have a guaranteed way to open up the map other than Grace. And Grace doesn't have his flicker, so he has no guarantee of survival.
So what, the only thing that he can have is Iris, since he technically does have a vengeance and should be able to get a pretty decent damage reduction from it.
I mean, I guess, but his wave clear is not that great either. So SRG, they kind of don't mind just waiting it out.
So Iris just has to try and distract them with his yo-yo tricks. Otherwise, there's no real way of going it because we can see that they're playing around Grace so well. Look at how they sidestepped it.
As we have the glorious pathway, Cram was hoping that he would kind of push himself backwards. But finds the kill down on the Grace. This Bill Alpha wasn't able to do quite much. Essentially finds himself in the heat of the battle. As Owl gets himself one, but at a sacrifice of himself. And now Kim getting a good amount of waiting for one another. As Sakai's ends one for all. As Innocent survives with a sliver of health.
What an outplay. What an absolute monster outplay coming in from both Innocent as well as Sakai. Sakai's jumped straight into the back line, and Innocent just has to have fancy footwork. And you're right, Snafa. Look at these side steps.
Look at them.
Can't touch this. You can't touch this.
I feel so bad for Grace.
It's like SRG thing, right?
I mean, would you say it's out mechanics or is it just movement? I say it's movement.
Very much movement. They look at Grace, they just see like a large statue standing there. It does not matter to them. And that means Red Esports has no solid way of engaging. That previous fight, Red Giants actually made a mistake in their positioning. They got caught in like a 3-4 man Spear of Alpha into Nibiru's Passion. But because Red Esports was so behind, it didn't matter.
All right, walk me through this because so far, huge lead for SRG, right? 5k gold lead. What do you think about the Starlium Scythe on top of the glowing wand for Stormy?
I mean, there's Edith on the other side. And that's all the explanation you really need. He's going to steal Primal Wrap. He's going to do damage. He is basically a second marksman when he has that ultimate stolen. So that's another thing. Grace is not only not able to contribute to his team, he's contributing more to the Red Giants.
It's like, it's so much disrespect. And it's not even his fault. He just wants to play the game. He wants to be an honest support.
Oh, he hit someone.
Onwards, connecting down the Cram, and now he re-engages again with the glorious pathway, but he's literally just showing himself the enemy, like, come and get me.
That regen is gross.
The regen is pretty gross right now, but I think they really need to utilize Kim's diversion, right? They need to send people across the map.
Right.
They need to be able to kind of stay on top and minimize this gold lead because they are bleeding heavily right now 9 minutes into the game.
But would that be a gamble, though? Just kind of like dropping onto the opponent's side and just kind of hoping that I win a fight based on my movement?
Well, I think they just need to drop the payload somewhere. And I think in this case, dropping the payload towards bottom side, jumping towards mid is probably their safest bet.
Yeah, I think using it for macro play makes a lot more sense. Have Kim escort Owl to go split push a lane and then use it to get out once they see the rotation of the Red Giants to the other side of the map. You cannot use it to engage right now. 5k difference means you are not winning team fights, especially against the Grill.
Oh, conceal. Never mind. Not going to be hitting Iris just yet. And I don't think that Selangor Red Giants wants to overcommit onto this either.
Agreed. They got Lord on their side. Honestly, it is just a waiting game. And I think that SRG needs all three of their waves to kind of push on in. It's free economy, right? I'm expecting all the T2s to actually fall down here. Maybe Red Esports could look for a macro play to maybe save a T2 or better yet, save a Holy Barrier at the very least.
But we can see now Red Esports really does not have much control anymore. Even with a low Yi, they are losing out in macro just because of how well the Red Giants have played around them throughout this entire game. This is the return to form we were all waiting for, and unfortunately, Red Esports are on the receiving end.
Oh, what? They saved the barrier! How did that... Huh? That minion... I thought that minion for sure was poking its nose forward. So they lose the barrier on that top side. The second wave will trigger it this time, unless Iris...
Oh!
You're
Okay, Holy Defense.
Good try, good try.
1.5 minutes to go until the Holy Defense would have dropped down anyways. But there's the... Grace start things out with the Earth Shatter.
Oh!
For Stormy, he did manage to get himself away with just that a little bit, but unfortunately the yo-yo tricks as well as the entanglement just make sure that Stormy, oh wait, hold a second, the Neighbor's Passion is not quite enough to bring Stormy out just quite yet. As now Red Esports, they made sure that they will be able to get a little bit more value out of that fight.
Finally, a punish coming in from Red Esports. A really good play coming in from both Iris and as well as Grace. Obviously, Grace being the sacrificial lamb, but entangling them together really slowed down the retreat. So maybe at this point of time, Red Esports, they've got an angle. It's just really hard to set up unless SRG are moving towards them.
Oh wow, fleeting time, second item on Yumes. He's just feeling it. He wants to go for those implosion plays. But we can see, if Grace is actually able to get things started, Red Esports has the damage. It's just that this Edith has been sidestepped so many times. The Red Giants got punished a bit for their positioning there. Let's see if it'll happen again.
Now, Trinity already complete for Innocent, and he's got the Winds of Nature. Smart enough Owl, he's been catching up. He got his first two, BOD, and as well as Malefic, straight into the Winds of Nature to protect himself from the Blazing Duet, if not Sakai's at a bare minimum. But I don't see a scenario where Red Esports can actually force spawn SRG unless SRG whiff it, like entirely whiff the engage.
I think it would require quite a lot of whiffs from SRG, and especially since Red Esports, they don't have a way to really make sure that, okay, everyone's gonna get hit by the Nibiru's Passion or the Bandit's Rage at one go.
Yeah, they're, again, depending very heavily on Grace to get that catch on the right target here. SRG has a lot more leeway to play around, but we've already seen that it is possible to get under their skin just a little bit. Both teams positioning on opposite sides of the Lord Pit right now. They don't know where each other are, but Kram is starting to scout.
Yumes really wants to get himself in the face of Iris. Sakai still continues to take the Lord away for himself. Sensui definitely tried, but right now he's within a lock pit and it doesn't seem like he will be able to get out at all. As now the rest of the members for the Southern Red Esports, they want to tuck their tail and run away, but Owl flicks forward, only to be punished by Sakai, as that is offensive footwork once again. Sakai's found one, and now the rest of the members from the side of Red Esports, they are just unable to turn things around. Iris pops a vengeance at that low amount of hit. And the arrow seals the deal for Sakai.
Oh, with that being said, you know it's going to happen. They don't even need the Lord. GG! Well played for the Selangor Red Giants as they move on in the lower brackets, knocking out Red Esports.
This is what the SRG fans have been waiting for here. A clean sweep in the lower bracket, eliminating Red Esports. SRG shall move on to the lower bracket finals to once again fight for a slot at M6.
At this point in time, we can just completely forgot how game number one felt like, because a 3-0 win is definitely valuable.
Oh, stressful. With that being said, let's have an interview with our winners. Throwing it over to our host up on stage.
13-0 clean sweep untuk Gergasi Merah Edu City. Ini adalah defending champions anda untuk MPL Malaysia musim ke-14. Give it up for Selangor Red Giants. Guys, congratulations. Masih lagi ada nyawa untuk lower bracket finals sekejap lagi. Adik, sini adik. Alright, first of all adik, kita boleh nampak crowd dekat Johor ni memang all out support untuk SRG. Apa adik nak cakap kepada dorang dulu?
Saya nak cakap, dia ni macam luar biasa lah sebab kita tahu apa tu Selangor. Saya rasa macam luar biasa je lah yang orang Selangor akan datang ke Johor.
Alright, now semalam kita tahu there was a little bit of disappointment in your side. Tapi hari ini clean sweep sending Red Esports home 13-0. What difference will you as a player bring to the table nanti dekat lower bracket finals?
Saya rasa apa tu kita orang akan pergi ke grand final sebab
game semalam tu saja nak cakap minta maaf sebab saya rasa saya orang cakap tak panas badan lagi. So SRG is back.
Alright. EduCity loves that. Tapi EduCity, I nak tanya pendapat korang. Korang rasa siapakah MVP perlawanan ini? Mari kita tengok MVP perlawanan ini in 3, 2, 1. MVP jatuh kepada Innocence, the half man, half Roger. All right. Hi, Sent. Okay, now Innocent, simple question. We know that last season, your road to championship was fairly easier. This season, what are the struggles you face as a gold laner in this current patch? And why is it tougher for you guys?
I think there's a lot of heroes in gold lane now because you need to adjust based on your jungler if they're using assassin or fighter. And I think it's better because I can use a lot of heroes.
All right, so it's better for you. You enjoy it much more. All right, now maybe we can pass the mic to Becky. Okay, Becky, first of all, bouncing back after yesterday's loss. Now, today you guys managed to clean sweep Red Esports 3-0. Now, how are you gonna assist your players' mentality and momentum? Because once again, they will be facing Toda in the lower bracket. How do you ensure they don't have like PTSD or they're nervous up against the upcoming rematch?
Saya rasa momentum ni sangat-sangat penting sebab kita kalah tadi lawan Todak, tapi we were expecting that we want to have a 3-0 against Red. Like before the preparation, we told them like yesterday that's not how SRG play. Everybody knows, right? That's not how SRG play. And then when we play against Red today, we don't even need to discuss like how we are gonna play. We just basically slap them, wake them up like, oh, this is how SRG play. So this is the mid trio that we know. This is the Innocent and Crumb that we know. So we will bring this momentum and Todak, watch out. Watch out, watch out.
I love that. It's going to be electrifying. And maybe to wrap things up, can you pass the mic to Coach R? Coach, we know that so many people, not only in Malaysia, but also internationally, are rooting for Selangor Red Giants to make it to the M6. And they even called SRG one of the top contenders. Coach, what do you want to say to these people that has been supporting you guys and want you guys back on the international stage?
Okay, first of all, I just want to say thank you to all of the fans that went here in the stadium to support us. It really means a lot to us. All of your support, especially after our loss yesterday, it kind of boosts our morale. So thank you so much. And also to all of the international viewers in different regions, thank you also for supporting us. Even though you guys are far away, we still feel your support. So we really appreciate this support. Thank you guys.
All right, guys, EduCity, sekali lagi, Selangor Red Giants. Thank you, guys. You guys may now go celebrate your victory. Clean sweep against Red Esports, going up to face Todak later in the lower bracket finals. Pasukan mana akan dapat tiket kedua untuk mewakili Malaysia ke M6? We will find out later on. Tapi sebelum tu, mari kita dengar mic check daripada side Selangor Red Giants dan juga Red Esports.
Main 5 je.
Itu basket ni dulu guys sampai power itu.
Dia TP je. Aman. Drop 20. Tertinator, ATP. Gan. 830. No des. Go. Nice. Sabar.
Dah lah, it's long half. Ci.
Kena.
Wait.
I can TP 85 ah.
Okay.
I just send you. Lalo ko lah. Pagkakala pa. Kena.
Ji.
I got to.
Choke me. I got him. Stick.
I lost.
Choke me. Natan.
LD.
Aja.
Ay, pa. Ipa, box.
They fly.
Agak. Ipa. Aman.
Dah.
Aku tang. Boleh.
I coming.
Tapi depan.
I coming.
Fokus ah.
Dah.
Lah.
Dah.
Jadi mau. Flame mission.
Boleh minta.
Dia dalam tu, Dik.
Just mid guys ah.
Bawa dik.
Oh.
Mana?
Red bush.
Ardem.
Yeah. Nice one.
Nice one.
Di sini, arah di sini guys ah.
Di atas tadi, kita TP merah. Jom.
Kita try.
Sini, Dik. Ada bin
Iya.
Ada tadi
Ya,
kat atas.
ada.
Ini, Dik. Aku hati.
Nice.
Santai bawah.
Ben show back, we go Ben guys.
Lupa dah ulti guys ah. We can play.
Jom.
Boleh.
We go ba.
Ya.
You right to see ah.
Boleh.
Cek. 1, 2, 3. Dapat.
Ah.
Kalau aku tarik kau ke depan
Ada krim sah.
Ada
Fokus.
Ayo ke set.
Retel.
Dah.
Oh my god, easy hero. Don't keep me down.
Tunggu. Nice one.
GG. Box.
Agak. Oh my god.
Nice Yum.
Tap.
Chill.
Bener.
Mas, almost.
Tengok ko ba?
Satu ah.
Boleh.
Aman guys.
Next time. Boleh.
I'm low.
Ben of ticket.
Dah.
Masih, aman.
Play.
Ada ticket.
Nih.
Dah.
Wait Lord ah.
Apa kau?
Wait Lord.
Relo, bapak kau relo. Asan. Toda.
This one guys. We power edit.
And that's mic check. A good insight into what was happening there. I don't know, it feels weird hearing you going, easy hero. Don't give me Joe.
Sometimes you just have those days, right? You think you're good at Cho, you realize, oh, I'm not good at Cho. Don't give me Cho.
Don't give it to him. What are your thoughts here? A 3-0, a successful victory for SRG and our MVP obviously going to Innocent. But Jace, your thoughts on this game?
Man, apart from this game is just so like it's a redemption arc and also like a growing arc for the Selangor Red Giants, right? We saw them enter the playoffs a little bit down, just a little bit. Then after that, they kind of get that momentum away, stepping onto red, and now I think we have to look at what's coming up next.
I don't know, it feels like a bit of a slow roll for SRG, right? Like they haven't fully gotten into that playoff mindset until here today, where you really see them warm up.
It kind of feels as though they don't feel the stakes at the upper bracket, and then now they're down in the bottom side, and it's like, okay, we gotta have to go all the way.
That's what it is.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta live life dangerously.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta be down bad.
Maybe they're the new Goku, right? they're just trying to play on the opponent's level at this point in time. It's kind of like a Famos thing.
No. This is more like Vegeta dealing with Cell. It's like, I'm not even in my perfect form. Oh yeah? I'll wait for you to get into your perfect form.
Oh well, we can definitely see that, but Innocent once again proving to us why so many teams have their eye on him specifically. That first game, his Natan was what saved SRG from the brink of destruction. And then after that, we talked about how we weren't big fans of Claude in this meta, and Innocent winning against Owls on his signature hero in a losing matchup at level 2.
I don't know. I cannot blame Red Esports for this matchup. I wish we were in a different universe where they would put up an amazing fight against SRG, but so many things just went wrong for them. The laning phase completely shattered them.
Yeah, and not only just the laning phase, I feel like completely shattered them. I think game number 1 was what shattered them, right? When Innocent just started to become this unstoppable Nathan, that's when you start to see Red starting to lose a lot of momentum. Game number 2, they're having a little bit good fight in the early game, but when game number 3 came in, we talk about this all the time, repeatedly on this broadcast. A Beatrix losing up against a Claude and you have like Thrill and also Master Assassin. That's a little bit unorthodox. You don't see that ever happening.
It's unforgivable. It's illegal, some may say.
You cannot let that happen, and unfortunately Owl did, so that had to affect him somewhat.
And on top of that, later on, I just want to also take ask you guys to kind of focus on to Innocent's emblems as well. His emblem choice is quite interesting. After the rework for the side of Claude, doesn't need mana anymore, right? But Innocent still continue on using the common emblem, right? When he could have just gone even more attack speed. That's exactly what the Claude is looking for.
Well, I mean, it's sustain in the lane as well. I think that's one of the few things that we can keep in consideration. Because again, if you have common emblems plus having the quantum charge, the heal from the quantum charge is slightly more because of the healing effect that you get from the emblem set itself. So that's something to keep in mind. It's small. It's not as good as like the support emblems, for an example. But I mean, it clearly made a difference here.
He also had tenacity.
Tenacity.
So I think all of this put together may have given him that small edge over Owl, who was going for that full damage 1v1.
I don't know. I feel like Owl should have probably like called it, be like, hey, my phone is lagging or something, because it was just so bizarre. There's no way you tactically roll into that bush in that manner in front of Innocent.
But I think there was definitely some mental impact here. Like, easiest example to see, just compare the number of diversions Kim did in Game 1 and Game 3. There was no low Yi play here at all. They were so afraid of teleporting to the wrong place, of splitting themselves up, of giving Yums a free implosion, that it just didn't feel like he was present.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish game number 2 was this game number 3, because they put up one hell of a fight in game number 2, and you could really see that the slightest difference was just mechanical execution for SRG. Such tiny margins, because they were playing the team fight almost perfect from both sides.
Yeah, coming into game number 3, there's quite a lot of utility that weren't really used, but it really just rocked them to the bone. They're afraid that if we kind of do a little bit of macro play, Yums might just go in and just kind of work it out on them with a single person implosion and then eventually run them over. Or perhaps, on at least for Owl, confidence all the way down. Maybe he just don't have the confidence anymore to kind of do anything from that point in time.
I wouldn't say that, because again, when the team decided to go for these big engages, when Iris is dropping in entangling, 2 Gracie flickering forward, we did see that Owl bother to flicker forward Nibiru's Passion or flicker forward, go for the Bennett's Rage.
And this time,
he was trying his best, but not quite good enough.
And this time, for the side of Cram, this is a very different high-loss game, Cram, well, as compared to game number 1, right? Game number 1, he's getting bullied by the CC, but game number 3, you saw when, you know, Iris just land down the ultimate and then start yo-yoing him down, and Cram is just laughing off the damage.
They're just that behind.
I guess. I mean, the gold also plays like a very big part of it. I think that Sensui, honestly, they should have played off of the lead of Sensui specifically. He was already 2 levels ahead of Sakai's. He just needed his laners to kind of hold strong.
I feel like Cram found a missing piece of himself in that glue game. Like, when you compare his gameplay between game 1 and 2, it's just different entirely. And Cram just looks so much more like Cram. He's running at them. He's being the biggest nuisance he can be. He's laughing. He's like in that flower field as a child once again. It's like, this is it. This is my moment.
You like the wordplay, Jays?
Yeah, I can totally imagine like this glue in a very nice field of flowers just jumping around in the split form, all laughing at the same time, and you have that compounding laughter. And the fact that you're kind of right. Game number 2 was a little bit soul-searching for the side of Cram. And game number 3, he came out as a very different pony. And yeah, I think I'm loving what I'm seeing for the side of SRG this time around.
Hopefully, I mean, other teams who are going to be watching, notably Todak, who is their next opponent, probably looking at this matchup. Also, listening to that mic check does give a bit of information that maybe Tro might not be worth banning.
That is true. That's true.
SRG?
Yeah.
Easy hero, huh?
Yums just doesn't seem to be feeling it, right? He himself admitted it. I was like, don't give me Cho. It's like, it's just not a Cho day for him. And that's fine, you know, you are going to have those off days, but they figured out how to work around it. And you could just see how many more items they had compared to Red.
So much of a difference here. Even Sensui and Iris, interestingly enough, opting to go for, well, at least for Sensui, a bit of a diversification here. I think he felt like he had enough to go for brute force breastplate early on, rather than going for the traditional ice queen. Sorry, not ice queen's one, but the queen's wings instead.
Yeah, and you also kind of have to compare the eye to power spikes with the side of Innocent Owl, right? Innocent was literally skyrocketed into like power spikes, right? Once he secured his corrosive side, and then starts going on ham. And Owl, even though yes, the BOD is really a massive item for the side of Owl, it just feels like you're not doing enough damage during these team fights.
Yeah, it really does compound all together. Stormy as well. Starlium, glowing, divine. He was doing so much damage on this Valentina. It's one of his classic signatures. Glad to see him back at it. But with that, we are officially down to our top 3 teams of MPL Malaysia Season 14.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's Todak up against SRG next after this. And one of these teams is going to represent us for M6. And I didn't think the bracket would turn out this way. And honestly, with all the upsets in day number 1, I think everybody has taken a huge loss or having the time of their lives just drowning in guest coins.
I'm having a time of my life just watching all of these pan out.
Yeah, we're just basically just letting them fight. Letting them fight.
Yeah, exactly. And just kind of maybe like make Malaysia implode on one another because whatever that's happening,
Hey,
at
but
least we might not see SRG in the M6. Yay.
But you
Hooray,
gotta
NIT
admit,
Flash.
but you gotta admit, this is pretty exciting, right?
It
SRG
is,
needs to
it
drop
is.
all the way to the lower brackets in order to redeem themselves, in order to be at their, well, good form, usual form. We're not even seeing them in the final form yet. Maybe that will happen tomorrow.
I don't
And
know.
later on.
Later on, yeah.
It kind of feels, it always feels like Malaysians always view themselves as underdogs. So it's unless we're doing the underdog story, we're not doing it at all.
There's too much pressure
Cinderella
if you
story.
are like the favorite. Right?
Exactly. I mean,
when
like,
you're the underdog, there's no pressure on you.
I think the only exception to that rule is probably going to be Vamos. I think, you know, they're definitely interesting to watch and their egos are high for a reason. And I love the fact that this team has so much personality. But only one team is going to face them off in the grand finals, and only one team gets an opportunity for M6. And I want to get your thoughts on here, especially you, Jace.
I don't know, man.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
putting me on the spot, but to be
Todak,
honest,
SRG, which you leaning to?
I'm leaning against SRG because, first of all, I want to see the Golden Road. I want to see that Golden Road story. But when I started watching MPL MY, it's when Todak was really in his prime, really strong, right? But now I'm really glad to see Todak stepping back up again into the pedestal. My heart still leans over to SRG because I want to see the Golden Road.
What happened to the I'm a Todak, I used to be a Todak?
I used to be a Todak. I want to see the Golden Road. It has never almost been done before.
Yeah, I mean, look, Todak has had some rough days, but I think things have kind of, you know, progressed. With that being said, this is going to be enough here for the desk. This has been Jace. Thank you so much for being our guest here, for our guest for MPL SG. Abstract, and as well as stuff. My name is Gideon Q. The desk has been an absolute blast here today at MPL MY, and hopefully we can continue to provide plenty of entertainment. Well, I mean, I'm still trying to get over the fact all of these things have happened so quickly in such a short span of time. But with that being said, I'm hoping that, you know, the BM side would kind of chill because I can hear them all the way from here. With that being said, we're going to be closing it out. Another best of 5 and more MLBB action here at the MPL MY Season 14. We'll see you for our qualification match.
Memories not let me fall back. But you'll be there, ready to rescue me if I go out of track.